Hello, this is John from caveofprogramming.com, and in this tutorial we're going to look at how you can use IDs in your list boxes rather than relying on the strings that you've output in the user interface. And I'm also going to hook up a little bit more of the code in this little application that we've been working on here. And I'm going to make it output some stuff here in this panel when I click OK on this form. So at the moment what's happening is if I click OK on the form after I've selected something in this list, my code is in the class that represents the panel. It's just retrieving the string from the list box, and the problem with that is usually the kind of string is a thing that might change if you decide to reword it or something, and what you really want usually is you want some ID that corresponds to that string. So if this was a table in a database, and we're going to get into databases later on in this series of tutorials, then each age category would probably have an ID, and it's that ID that you usually really want. So to make this work, what I will do is I'm going to add a new little class, and because it's just quite a small kind of utility class, I'm going to just add it here in the file along with form panel. And the things that I'm adding to my list box are age categories, so I'm going to call this class age category, and let's give this a constructor, and each age category, I'm going to say category, has a ID, int ID, and it has a string text that is a descriptive string that appears in the user interface. So let's give this a private string text, and also a I'll put it up here actually, a private int ID. And in the constructor I'm just going to set that text and that ID. So this dot ID equals ID, and this dot text equals text. So it's just a little utility class for matching up IDs and a string for the should be this for the age categories. And what I can do is I can add that class to my list box instead of strings. So let's look at where I'm adding the elements to my list box, and it's here. It's I'm adding it to the model, remember, of the J list. So instead of having under 65, I can say new age category. It's a little class that I just created, and I can have an ID here and then a string. And I want to do the same thing down here and here, and I'm going to change the IDs so each one has a unique ID, and let's make that 1 and make that 2. And now if I run this, what's going to happen is I'm going to see this is the result of doing toString on my age category objects. And to actually make it look nice, all I've got to do is give this age category class a toString method. So public string toString, and return text, because this is the text that I actually want to display, which is the text that I'm passing in here. And now if I run that, it looks just the same as it did before. But the advantage is that when I click the button, instead of saying agelist.getSelectedValue, well actually I still want to do that, but it's or do I actually? I think what I want is get selected, get selected value should do the trick, but instead of casting it to a string, I'm going to cast it to a age category like that, and I'm going to call this age category. So if I run that, when I need a semicolon there. When I click OK, it's going to get my age category object from the list. So I'm still doing agelist.get selected value. I can't actually remember if that was the right method, but it is get selected value. But it's just that the values in my list now are not strings. They are age category objects. And the advantage of doing this is that here I've now got access to the string and the ID, which is probably what I really want. So let's go down here and let's give it a public public int get ID, and I'll just return the ID there. And here, when the button is clicked, I can now say agecat dot, let's just output the ID for the moment, and if I run that, so when I click OK down here in the console, I get the ID of the age category rather than the string, which is what you want most of the time, because usually this information is going to be stored in a database, and having the string text is not usually any use. Okay, and now I'm gonna at this point, so like what I'm going to do now is just make that text appear on the right hand side here. And if you're a fully advanced Java programmer, you might want to skip that bit, because all I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the event model that carries information, the event object that carries information from this panel up to the main frame and then down again to this text panel. I'm going to modify that to accept my ID, which is one of the advantages of using events. So when I collect all this information, I'm saying form listener, form event occurred, and passing it this event. And the form listener, the thing that's listening, actually in this case, is the main frame. So let's go to form event here, and it's already got a get name and a get occupation, but I'm going to give it a private int age category, and I'm going to let's put this here. Let's say int age cat, and let's say this dot age category equals age cat, and let's give it a get age category. So public void get age category, and all that has to do is just return age cat, of course, age category. So yeah, it's not public void actually, it's int. And so all I've done here is just make this event object capable of storing a bit more information. And then here in the form panel, I can pass in not only the name and occupation, but also the age cat dot get ID. And now finally, in my main frame here, I can add to the text panel some more stuff here. I can say, so I've got name and occupation, and I could also output, let's see, I could say int age cat equals e.get age cat. So I'm just using the method I've just declared on the form event, and here I can output the age category. So let's do plus age cat, and I'll still have the new line there. So Eclipse is helpfully putting in a double quote that I don't want. And if I run that, so now, excuse me, if I fill this in, John software, let's say software, and I believe I'm 18 to 65, so if I run that, it's going to output here John software 1, age category 1. So you see this using an event model is very flexible, because you can transfer a lot of information from this form just using your object, and you don't have to make this form event occur to have more and more arguments all the time. In the next tutorial, we're going to look at another wonderful form widget that you can use. We're going to look at the combo box. So join me again then, and until next time, happy coding.